Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have some more of these Dino Strike color change eggs to take a look at, or I guess you'd call them eggs, balls, I have no idea because they're sort of like those surprise egg sort of things, but they're not really in the shape of an egg. Regardless, it's something I'm a big fan of. I love the Dino Strike line, but this line I actually had only purchased a handful of them and then gave up on it, and I did not try collecting the rest. There is 13 overall to collect. I think I only got like 3 or 4 previously, so I have another 4 here to take my chances on, and I have heard rumblings of potentially there being a new sort of Dino Strike line out, maybe an Ice Age version, and I did want to get a hold of at least a few more of these and try it one last time to see what I can get before they send these out and bring in whatever the new stuff is. Hopefully, whatever the new stuff is new sculpts, because for a while we just seem to be getting the same figures, which hasn't really tempted me to get a hold of these because it's like the same figures but new gimmicks and paint variants and stuff. But without the release of new species, or at the very least new sculpts, I haven't really been all that inclined to get a hold of them. But you can see again we have the color change edition here of the Dino Strike line. I did try the color change thing last time. I'm not going to mess with it this time because I wasn't too worried about it, nor was I all that impressed with it the last time around, but I am still intrigued to see if we actually get something different as far as the species go this time around. So we're going to go ahead and pull this out of screen for a moment here. So we have our first egg here out of the packaging. As you can see, I removed all the eggs so then the focus can just be on this without other things getting in the way. And if you are familiar with the way these work, you have to open them one by one, which kind of leads you along when it comes to the surprise as far as what is in here. And wow, it was really for some reason hard to open that one. So straight away, we will continue to be in suspense because we can see we have the weapon, but we don't know what species we have contained within. The next one should definitely tell us what we've got going on here, or maybe it's some sort of a... I think, you know what, I think this might be the Stygimoloch, I believe, is a dinosaur in this line, potentially, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it absolutely is. So as we can now see, we know who we are getting in this egg. We'll keep pulling this stuff out, we'll just keep dumping it all out here, and then we'll assemble it afterwards of everything except for one left to get out here. And there we go. We now have that egg completely emptied. Bring all the pieces over, but one of the more important parts of this is this little booklet which tells us all the different species that are included, because I clearly forget now. But we've got ourselves it says Tribatlops, but a Triceratops, a Pterosaur, Pteranodon, a Velociraptor, and if we actually keep saying them the names that they are, we have a Tribatlops, Terror, a Raid Raptor, a Tankylosaur, a Rex, which is a skeleton, a Triblaster, and Skelesaur, which obviously we've got the Spinosaurus, the Triceratops, and T-Rex in skeleton form. Those are the rare figures. I would love to actually get the Spinosaurus. I think that's a Spinosaurus, is it not? Yeah, it definitely looks like it's a Spinosaurus. But then here on the other side, you can also see what else is in here. We have a different raptor, as well as the one that we have here currently, which would be the Strikosaur. And then there's also a Therizinosaurus, which is the Danger Dino, and Attack Rex, which I would like actually to get the T-Rex. And then a Stegowar, which is a Stegosaurus, as well as the Plesiosaur, which is the Combatosaur. So let's go ahead and put this one together quickly. So there we go, we have our Stygimoloch now put together and definitely looking really cool. I am quite a fan of these figures, as I've said so many times in the past. They have such a strong Dino Riders feel, Dino Riders vibe to them, and you can very clearly see that here with the Stygimoloch. So I'm pretty excited to see what the other ones are that I have here. Hopefully we don't get any repeats of anything that we have had, or specifically the Stygimoloch so far is the only one that we've got this round so far. So let's go ahead, and we've got some limbs which definitely don't look familiar to me. Kind of looks like maybe the Triceratops. We've got the body here now as well, and then again the collector stuff is in there, but we're not worried about that. We already saw that with the first round. Pop this one open. We've got some more limbs. I'm really thinking it's the Triceratops in this one. We now have the weapons in here as well. And then the final spot is, yes, it is absolutely the Triceratops. So just like with the other one, we're going to go ahead and get this put together quickly and then check it out. So there is our Triceratops now put together. And two things I've forgotten, actually a couple of things, three I should say, about these figures. One, the sculpts are so nice on them. I completely forgot how beautiful and highly detailed the sculpts of these Dino Strike figures are. It's been quite a little while since I actually got a hold of some. The other thing I forgot is how hard they are to put together. Man, these things are such a pain in the butt to actually get the pieces into each other. I've been using a hairdryer over here just to do it because these ones specifically, I don't know if it's because it's cold down here in my dino dungeon or what, but they are an absolute nightmare to get put together. The other thing is, I forgot how loose some of the armor is. Like, that can easily just fall right off, and I don't know if I just have it on the wrong way. I feel like it's not going to go on any way better. Like, that seems backwards, and it kind of makes like a snapping noise, but it doesn't stay on there very well. Regardless, the third dinosaur that I have here, or well, I guess I should say the third figure, because it could be a pterosaur. I may not even have a dinosaur. We'll go ahead and start with this one. Looks to be the biggest piece out of all. Oh, it's the T-Rex. Yes, it absolutely is. That is an awesome one, because that's one that I really wanted and I did not get. Actually, I don't think I got any of these previously. Possibly the Stygimoloch. I can't really recall what they were the first time around because it was so long ago and I kind of gave up on them for a while there. So I didn't actually see what these were recently, the first, few that I got. I haven't taken a look, and again, it's been a while, so I don't really remember. Where is the slip on this one to pull it open? There's the body of our T-Rex. I'm kind of getting jumbled here and not getting the correct parts at the correct time. And there we go. So now we got that completely emptied. And again, when I say they're hard to get put together, like, I am not kidding, though this one looks like it should actually be maybe a little easier. Yeah, that one was super easy, but the others were an absolute nightmare to get the heads and stuff onto. And there, you can see how hard I had to actually push just to get that tail on. It can be such a pain at times in the legs and everything. I basically, like, I was putting them together off screen before, but I just wanted to do one of these here just to show you guys how much of a pain they can be sometimes to get on. There we go. We got that leg on. Honestly, it may not seem that bad to you guys, but, buy a couple of them and then see how it works out. It's not the easiest thing in the world to get these pieces on, unfortunately, but they are super cool once you get the pieces on. I actually think this might look like a little bit of a different, well, I knocked his head off, a little bit of a different T-Rex compared to the last one that we had. I feel like it does look a little different. Maybe some of these are new sculpts, and if that's the case, then I feel bad for not trying to get them previously. Now I'll be scrambling to try to complete the line before they're out of the stores, because if they are in fact going to move to a new line, it's only a matter of time before these are gone. But it is a pretty neat looking T-Rex. So there we go. We now have our T-Rex assembled, and it definitely looks like at least a slightly altered version of the T-Rex compared to the one we previously had. And the final of my group here that I have, of my newest group, is going to be the Velociraptor. I also don't think I have that one either, so this has been a pretty impressive lineup of figures, I was actually able to get a few that I did not have previously, which is a great thing. I definitely don't have even close to the entire line of these ones, unfortunately. There was a time where I actually used to collect the full lines of these figures, but they just kind of got a little stale to me after a little while when it came to continuously releasing basically the same figures, just with slightly different paint schemes, which can be fun, but when it's like that every single time and they're not really introducing new species, it kind of gets a little bit boring in my opinion. But I guess at least they have new gimmicks continuously, and the sculpts, again, as I said, are really nice. This is actually a beautiful raptor, very Jurassic Park-ish, if I recall correctly. But this is another one of those instances, like I was saying before, how it's so hard. It's like impossible to get this on without using the hairdryer. So I guess what I'm going to do is assemble this, and then we'll come back and check the Raptor out once it's done. So I have the Raptor built, and I don't remember if this was the action feature it had before. It's been, quite a while, but they have basically the Mattel jumping action feature. So they basically, borrowed, I guess you could say, that action feature of the Raptor jumping. But another thing that I just noticed that's actually pretty funny about these is the fact that the colors of these seem to almost go in line with each other, the way that I've acquired these this time around. So actually, let me just put this stuff on the Raptor, if I can remember how to do this, and get the armor on. Pop that on there, get ourselves the gun up top, put our missile in, and then the headgear on the Raptor. And there we go, there's our Raptor now fully put together. And he doesn't seem like he stands very well, so we'll have to wait and see. There we go. But anyway, you can see that I've got this Raptor that is kind of like a dark reddish tone. Then he fell over. Then we have the... does not want to stand anymore. Wow, we had it going for a second there. I'll just put him like that. Then we had the Stygimoloch, which is a brighter reddish tone. Then we've got the Triceratops, which is kind of like a darker reddish brown tone. And then we have the T-Rex, which is a brighter reddish tone. So it's almost like they go back and forth as far as the coloration goes. It's pretty impressive that I was able to acquire these four at this point in time, which they're all so similar in coloration. That's just weird to me. Anyway, now that I'm over that random little bit of information, let's go ahead and jump to a quick closer look at these, and we'll check them out from there. So first of all, we have the Stygimoloch. You can see that the armor that the Stygimoloch has is really cool, and something that's always fun about the armor of these dinosaurs is you can articulate them, so you can move them around depending on where you put them. Like if it's on the top, you can usually turn it, to aim in different directions. So that's always really fun. But you can see, again, it absolutely has that very much so Dino Riders feel, which is one of the things that I think causes me to like these so much, and probably one of the biggest reasons why I've pursued these figures over the years is because of that strong Dino Riders vibe. Definitely something that I am a massive fan of. But you can see with the Stygimoloch, we've got two weapons we can shoot. You've got kind of like some missiles that are a very cool greenish tone with a translucent sort of a look. And you also have yourself a little headgear for the Stygimoloch, which is really fun. You can, of course, take these off, and once you do, they actually stay pretty nicely on the Stygimoloch. But once you take them off, you can see the sculpt of the Stygimoloch is quite nicely done. You've got almost like a running sort of pose, I think, for it, because the head's kind of extended, and obviously the legs are in a position to appear sort of like they're running. The wrist on this one looks completely broken. It's facing the entire wrong way, so that's not healthy for the dinosaur. But when you do get nice and close, they absolutely have some really nice detail. The eye is a little obnoxious because they've gone Mattel here with the eye, and they've given it a red pupil rather than giving it a black pupil. Definitely something that could be improved upon, but you've got a dark tone for the beak. You also have some nostrils sculpted out for the Stygimoloch. The beak actually has a little bit of a satin shine to it as well. And then up on the top, you can see the dome is also nicely sculpted. Nice kind of cracks and crevices within the spikes leading off of the back of the head are also nicely done. As you move back into the body, you can see the actual texturing and everything looks really good. You've got some green stripes up here on the back of the dinosaur, as well as some coloration here on the side, like a blue that kind of shows up in the thigh and leads down. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's not the end of the world. There is a random little divot here in the stomach. I don't know what that's for. I guess maybe to connect the armor to, actually. That probably is what that's for. But then you lead down, you can see the foot sculpt looks pretty decent. You've got some scoots running down the toes. The nails are sculpted very nicely, but no nail paint. We do also have dew claws there on the back of the leg. Right there, you can see on both of the feet, you've got the dew claws. And then you lead up, you've got a little tail out here as you lead along the course of the dinosaur. There is a lighter tone that shows up in the chest and leads into the groin area, but disappears before reaching the tail, and also disappears before leading into the throat. The opposing side, you're not really going to see much difference, honestly, almost the exact same thing outside of the fact that the leg is trailing on this side, and the arms are in a slightly different position. You do have an action feature for the figure, which is really fun. As you move the tail, you can see basically the head rocks there, so it's got kind of like a head-butting action feature to it. You also have articulation in the arms, which is pretty nice to have, and then articulation in the legs, but the legs are definitely stiff. So, like, you don't really have a whole lot going on as far as the movement of the left leg. That honestly feels like it's about it. Not really so much in the right leg either. So I guess the articulation in the legs is very limited on this one. I, for some reason, thought it was a little bit better than that, but still a very cool looking figure. Definitely nicely sculpted. Not the best paint scheme in the world, but it's okay. Then we've got the Triceratops. You can see, just like we've had in previous editions of the Triceratops, you have this little bit of headgear that kind of goes over the eyes. You can then remove that. You've also got this stuff here for the back. Again, the armor for the back with a weapon, and yet again, like I said, you can kind of turn it once it's on the back, so you have a little bit of mobility. Would have been nice to have the ability to kind of go up and down like that, but not the end of the world. But then once we remove that, you can see that the sculpt of the Triceratops is actually really quite nicely done. He definitely looks very angry. You can see that the eyes are painted just like the other one, but actually a little bit sloppier, but you can see there's no black pupil or anything for the eyes, so it looks a little ugly as far as that goes. But you have the beak painted, the horns painted, the spikes around the frill are not painted, unfortunately. You have a brownish tone for the head. Kind of looks a little reddish brown in certain lights, similar to the coloration of the raptor, but actually having it up here, I think it looks a little more brown than reddish brown. You can see we've got an area of a dark tone here running along the back. There are also some scoots here that kind of run through the course of the dinosaur, like some osteoderms showing up pretty much all over the place. And you have some stripes here in the leg. Kind of looks like it would be an injury, but at the same time it is a bluish tone, so that would be a weird coloration for the blood of this dinosaur. We also have a light tone that runs from the throat, basically, but not the upper part of the throat, basically, actually more like the chest, I would say, and then leads all the way out onto the tail. So it's pretty nice to see coloration all the way out there, whereas the Stygimoloch didn't have that. You can see the skin texture on the underside looks pretty good. Again, the nails are not painted, but they're all sculpted really nicely. The toes specifically are actually sculpted really quite beautifully on the Triceratops. And again, when it comes to these figures, they actually have a really nice, very highly detailed appearance. Considering what they are absolutely beautifully sculpted when it comes to the fine detail. Clearly, these dinosaur figures won't win any awards when it comes to scientific accuracy, but they are very, very cool. And again, we have an action feature with the tail, where the head basically kind of goes back and forth. So it kind of gives you a striking action feature for the head and, of course, the spikes of the Triceratops. Then we've got the Velociraptor, and you can see, just like with the older raptors, we've got the headgear for it. Again, the armor for the back. The armor is very nicely sculpted on all of these. It's also painted with a grayish tone or like a silverish tone. And then again, you have the missile, just like you have with all of the other ones there, with that translucent, very cool looking green. And then we pull these off, and you can see the raptor sculpt itself looks very good. I would say kind of Mattel-ish as far as the overall appearance. Not perfect, but similar. And we can very clearly see from previous releases from this line that they do take inspiration from other companies. I wouldn't call any of them bootlegs, but you can see that they obviously take inspiration from other companies, like with this raptor, and then the Therizinosaurus that they have is very Schleich-like, so obviously they do look to other companies as far as their designs at times, but this one looks really good, and the fact that it does kind of look like a Mattel Raptor or a Jurassic Park Raptor is definitely something that appeals to me. Again, we've got a yellow eye like all of the others have had. No black pupil. The pupil, again, is the coloration of the body, but the actual skin detail and everything looks really good on the raptor. We do have an articulated jaw, which you can see the inside of the mouth. Well, you could if my camera would focus. There you go. You've got a tongue, some teeth, and stuff like that for the inside of the mouth. The teeth and everything are not painted. It would have been nice to see them painted. I think it could have definitely amped up the appeal of the figure a bit. As you move back, you don't have much when it comes to coloration on this one. You've just got some darker tones they're kind of designing basically in the back only, and then as you lead out into the tail, you have no coloration out there, and nothing really going on the side. As far as this one goes, you do have a little extra random coloration over here. I don't know what that's meant to be. It almost looks like it's a big area that's been ripped open and there's some bones sticking out, kind of, that it's just been painted on. I don't know. It's pretty terrible as far as that goes, but the sculpt does look really cool overall, is absolutely as highly detailed as it gets, and has some pretty okay paint apps. There is also a different tone of color here for the underside, again basically starting in the chest, maybe a little bit higher, maybe like the lower part of the throat, and then leads down here close to the tail. But you do have articulation in the raptor. As I said, the articulated jaw. It looks like you would have articulation for the neck, but you actually don't. You do have articulation, though, for the arms, which is nice. And then, of course, the legs we saw articulate together because that's part of that jumping action feature. And the tail does not articulate. Again, it's just an area you had to pop in. So the raptor is really, really quite cool. Definitely a very nicely sculpted figure, and I would love to get some more of these and actually paint them, but they're just so, hit or miss as far as what ones you're going to get, but I would definitely like to give one of these a repaint. And then we've got the newest version of the T-Rex, and you can see the T-Rex sports a pretty cool look to it. Again, we've got the armor here on the back. You actually have two areas of armor that kind of snap together right here, and then you've got the headgear for the T-Rex as well. Pretty much the same theme that you see through the majority of these figures, and then we'll take all of that stuff off. And then we bring the T-Rex up, and I will say I liked the previous Tyrannosaurus a lot better. I just think the sculpt of it looked a lot cooler and had that big, impressive, bulky T-Rex feel. This one looks just a little off to me. It's got a weird-looking head sculpt. It's not bad. It is still quite highly detailed and doesn't look terrible, but it just doesn't look as nice as the previous one. We do have an articulated jaw again, which clearly you can see by the fact that it's snapped shut. It's part of the action feature. There is a tongue in there, even if it is really far down into the mouth. And you can see that we have teeth sculpted out, but the teeth are not painted. The teeth on the lower jaw almost look like they are because we have a light tone for that area, but the teeth on the upper jaw confirm that we do not actually have paintwork for the teeth of the T-Rex. The eye is also, again, a yellow, no black pupil. The detailing looks good, though, here in the face, and you can see we have a reddish tone for the upper part, and then this light kind of yellowish tone, like a yellowish tan, for the lower part. You see that run from the lower jaw all the way down along the underside before disappearing as we reach the tail, and consistently they have a very abrupt transition. It's not a smooth transition as that coloration leaves. You can see we've got some green here on the side and then blue in the thigh. Both of those areas look to me to be almost injuries, so I guess this dinosaur bleeds green and blue. And then if we turn it around, we have exactly the same thing going on the opposing side as well. You can see the T-Rex has almost a sort of a crouched kind of a look, as it looks like maybe it's in the midst of an attack. As far as the articulation goes, as I smack the camera, we do have articulation in the arms, which is actually really, really smooth. Same deal for the other arm over there. And then the leg articulation is there, but man, is that stiff. You can see we do have some articulation in the legs. That's actually pretty nice on that leg. And then we have an action feature again with the jaws chomping here on the T-Rex. And you can see you move the tail back and forth basically to cause that action feature to occur. So it's pretty fun. Definitely neat that they give you action features and stuff for the figures. And overall, even if it isn't as nice as the previous T-Rex, he's still okay. So there is the entire lineup that I was able to acquire this time around. I do have a few more that I acquired in a previous purchase that I got quite a few of them. But again, I don't think I'll be grabbing any more of this line. I'm probably going to wait for whatever comes next. If indeed there is an Ice Age line, that's probably what I'll go for when I, again, get some more of these. But I don't think we need sizes, comparisons, any of that stuff, because these have been out for so long. They are consistently the same size. I don't think that anybody that collects them is unfamiliar with the size of them. The only thing that I want to do is basically shoot one of these missiles so that you can see how well they work. And you can see that went flying pretty good. Again, the armor and the weapons of these dinosaurs usually work really well. And overall, the figures, again, are pretty well done as far as the overall mechanisms go. You know, the action features, the articulation, the armor, the weapons, all of it usually works really quite nicely. So these Dino Strike color change figures from Zuru Toys are pretty fun. Again, I didn't really mess with the color changing aspect of them because it didn't work so great for me the last time I tried to do it. And it's an okay action feature, kind of something I would say is a little bit of a throwback to when I was younger. I feel like that's something I would have seen on Dinosaur Toys, but it's not really something that's all that exciting for me. But what is exciting are the dinosaurs themselves, and one thing that is actually pretty exciting in general for me is to see that some of them are altered a little bit from their previous releases. They didn't just straight up re-release the same figures like I initially had thought they did. They actually had gone ahead and resculpted them to make them a little bit different from previous releases of these. And Some maybe not for the best, because the T-Rex, although cool, I don't think it's quite as nice as the older version that they had out. I was actually a pretty big fan of that older T-Rex. This one looks okay, but definitely a downgrade from the other one. It does still have some kind of okay paint apps, and definitely a fun look with the armor and weapon and everything on it, again with those awesome Dino Rider vibes, and it has an action feature, which is pretty much what you would expect for a T-Rex. The Stygimoloch is pretty cool. Again, it has a very similar color scheme to the T-Rex, like almost the exact same tone of color, and even including blue on the thigh. But that being said, it does still have a very nice, very highly detailed appearance to it, and some pretty decent paint apps. Nothing, again, incredible, but nice for what they are, and also looks super cool with the armor and everything. The Stygimoloch does also have 2 weapons to it, which in this round is the only one that actually had 2 weapons, so that is a plus for that figure. The Raptor as well is really cool, definitely sporting a Jurassic Park style look to it, and also kind of a similar appearance to a Mattel Raptor. But again, it looks really neat when the armor is on, definitely again screaming Dino Riders and nostalgia with that look. Definitely something that I would have played with as a child, if these were around back then. But again, the sculpt of the Raptor is really well done. The paint is okay. I wouldn't say any of these have stellar paint jobs or even all that interesting looking paint schemes or anything, but they look, okay for what they are. And then the Triceratops, I can't really notice anything at all that looks like it's differed from the older ones with this Triceratops. Definitely looks like it's probably the same figure, if not very close, and that is okay because the Triceratops was a pretty cool looking figure the entire time. Just has that grumpy look to it, and also a very highly detailed appearance. And again, the armor and everything on definitely gives it that really cool over the top yet very old school sort of charm to it when it comes to the type of toys that most people growing up at the time that I did would have been looking to play with. And I guess that still follows through to today. Again, kids are still interested in dinosaurs carrying weapons and stuff. But overall, they are pretty fun, so if you are interested in grabbing some, I will include a link in the description to where you can actually purchase them on Target.com, or of course you can purchase them in store. One way or another, they're definitely worth picking some up, so make sure you do that, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.